Hurricane Milton has made landfall and is moving across central Florida, bringing with it torrential rain, strong winds, and destructive storm surge. Band after band of heavy rain is moving through north central Florida. Parts of the area are under flash flood warnings tonight. Hurricane Milton roared ashore around 8:30 tonight near Siesta Key as a powerful Category 3 storm. This is a special 11 o'clock edition of WUFT News. I'm Alex Land.
And I'm Juan Chaoui. Wind and heavy rainfall are creating catastrophic conditions across the Tampa area with an increasing risk of life-threatening flash flooding. We begin our coverage with Leigh Waldman in Tampa with the destruction of Milton is leaving behind.
Waters come up!
I am scared to death of some of these storm surge levels. The values are absolutely dangerous and deadly.
As weather officials say, hide from the wind, run from the water.
If you're going to take that kind of risk, then it'd be best to just write your name on your clothing so we can identify you.
Nearly half of hurricane-related deaths are from storm surge, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. But as Hurricane Milton bears down on the Sunshine State, Floridians are out of time to run.
Don't try to go out now. Don't try to say, I got to get out of here and get to a shelter, because you will die.
Already, the Sunshine State reported the most tornado warnings in a day on record.
We've seen reports of damage, lots of images of those tornadoes, and some of them have been quite long lasting as well, which is not typical for tornadoes associated with hurricanes. One
family in Fort Myers was inside their house when a tornado ripped through their neighborhood.
We all started going for the hallway, didn't even make it there in time, started and I heard a piece of glass crack and it sucked the whole roof off, and I felt the thing suck me up, and I grabbed my kid and my wife and hunkered down.
Milton is set to leave behind extensive damage, yet first responders can't go out to assess or perform life-saving operations until the wind dies down.
This is a matter of life and death, and I can't put it any more bluntly or directly than that.
In Tampa, Florida, I'm Leigh Waldman reporting.
As we said, Milton did make landfall just around 2.5 hours ago. It's really wreaking devastation.
Yeah, even outside the studio, we've been seeing rain coming down all day. Matt, can you tell us more of what we can be expecting coming up?
Yeah, so it made landfall at 8:30 in Siesta Key. It's going to start to make its way further to the northeast at around 15 miles per hour. I'm going to work my way over to the wall here. It's over Hardy County right now as a Category 2 storm. It's expected to move its way almost parallel the I-4 corridor with winds up to 105 miles per hour. Still a strong Category 1 storm as it makes its way off into the Atlantic coast before eventually just tailing off into the Atlantic. Quick moving storm, that is the good news. It's going to be out of our area quickly. Just still need to hang in there. Tampa's seeing a lot of the bad stuff. I'm from West Pasco right here. Just got a video from my parents. It's coming down. The winds, 75 mile per hour sustained hurricane force winds. Down here, not a lot of rain, but a lot of storm surge, heavy winds as well. Some dry air is what's creating no rain down there. For our area though, Ocala, the villages, Marion County under a flash flood warning. Up north in Gainesville though, seeing some strong rain as well. We're going to continue to see that rain as we head into the evening hours. Storm surge has been devastating. Siesta Key up to 13 feet of storm surge. Everything from the south of the eye, from Sarasota, Venice, and Port Charlotte have seen those above 9 feet of storm surge values. It's been a horrific experience down there for them. Sustained winds 39 to 57 miles per hour. We're going to start to expect these winds as we head into early Thursday morning and around 2 a.m. Power outages because it made landfall in Sarasota County. Manatee County has lost upwards of 66,000 people, and then 160,000 in Pinellas and Hillsborough County. Pasco County 54,000, and it's going to start to tick up further and further as it makes its way across the state into Orlando and through Daytona Beach. Campus cam right now, winds right now around 22 miles per hour from the northeast. 36 mile per hour wind gusts is shy of tropical storm force wind gusts. We've had an inch and a half of rain. That number is going to continue to tick up as we head into our Thursday morning hours. Pretty dark on our campus cam right now. Those raindrops overhead, temperature 71 degrees.
We're seeing more damage reports coming in from Hurricane Milton and the tornadoes spawned from the storm. This is the aftermath of a tornado earlier today in Port St. Lucie. The area also suffered fallen structures, power lines, trees, and street signs littering the streets. Emergency response teams are stationed across the roads to ensure people stay off the roads as cleanup crews work to clear hazards and debris. This is cell phone footage taken from one of these tornadoes over in Wellington. That's in Palm Beach County. You can just see the sheer amount of power Milton is producing across the state and why it's important to stay cautious of these tornado formations, even though you might not be in the storm's direct line of sight. More than 9 inches of rain have fallen in only 3 hours as Hurricane Milton's over the Tampa Bay area. This represents more than 1 in 1,000 rainfall for St. Petersburg. The National Weather Service is warning that major flash flooding is ongoing and will have life-threatening impacts.
The Sarasota area is reeling from the storm. First response teams are in full effect doing everything they can as they assess the flooding damage and safety protocols. WUFT reporter Kade Sowers shares the latest on the next steps area officials are taking.
Just a couple hours ago, Hurricane Milton made landfall along the west coast of Florida. At around 8:30 p.m., Hurricane Milton hit Sarasota County. WFT forecasters report wind gusts at around 96 miles per hour and reports of water levels around 8+ feet in coastal communities. With water rising at a life-threatening rate, storm surge is expected tonight into tomorrow morning. According to Sarasota County Government Director of Communications, Jamie Carson, over 1,400 calls have been made to their 911 communications center. However, because of high wind speeds in the area, first responders are unable to meet those callers' needs. Carson says the Sarasota County Fire Department is working to triage those callers to provide assistance.
We not only have Sarasota County personnel, but we have representatives from all our municipalities, our local law enforcement. We have state agencies, FEMA's here, FPL's here, Florida Army National Guard here. They're going to be assisting in our recovery efforts. So as soon as it's safe for us to be out there in the community, we're going to be assessing the damage, providing resources, and the assistance that our community needs to recover from the storm.
Carson reminds Sarasota residents to stay where they are during and after the storm. First responders will be working to clear the roads of any debris. Live in the studio, Kade Sowers, WUFT News.
Other first responder teams across the Gulf Coast are following suit, suspending their emergency due to the danger Hurricane Milton possesses. This is footage from just a few hours ago of the Sarasota Police Department closing down their station. St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Pinellas, Pasco, and Manatee County are suspending emergency services to varying capacities as well. St. Petersburg non-emergency line is still operational for residents.
President Biden is reassuring Floridians and others in the path of the hurricane that his administration has their backs. The president updated the latest on Hurricane Milton from the White House this evening, urging residents to follow instructions from state and local leaders.
Milton still carries incredible destructiveness, can wipe out communities, can cause loss of life. Storm surge is still expected to be up to 13 feet, so I urge everyone in Hurricane Milton's path to listen to local officials and follow all the safety instructions they give.
Rising rapidly as Milton takes hold, with more than 1 million customers in the dark, about 45 minutes after Milton made landfall.
Looking a bit closer to home, Marion County is feeling the effects of Hurricane Milton. WUFT's Bernardo Montas has the latest on the extent of the storm's impact on the county.
That's right, JC. As Hurricane Milton makes its way across Florida, Marion County has been caught in the crossfire. The storm's strong winds and heavy rains have proven troublesome for Marion County residents. As of 10:30 p.m., over 9,000 homes have lost power. Emergency officials have also responded to calls about potentially dangerous debris. If you fear you may be in danger, Marion County's Public Information Officer Valerie Strong urges you to call emergency services.
Please call 911. As soon as it's safe for us to respond, we will respond out there.
Marion County residents can stay up to date by calling the Citizens Information Line. That number is 352-369-7500. Reporting live in the studio, Bernardo Montas, WUFT News.
Hurricane Milton impact damages are predicted to pile up to $100 billion in insured losses, according to an analysis from Morningstar. This will make the amount on par with Hurricane Katrina from 2005. The impact amounts could change depending on Milton's entry point, wind forces, and eye wall size. Flooding, business closures, watercraft destruction, and environmental hazards are also a part of the insured losses calculations. Water damage losses are normally excluded from private insurance policies, but can be covered under the government-backed National Flood Insurance Program. Milton's impact could cause national insurance prices to skyrocket ahead of the 2025 season. Coming up on WUFT's First at 5, how Florida's Latin community is responding to their access to hurricane and communications safety.
And how Orlando is feeling the effects of Hurricane Milton's power outages.
making strides to bridge the language barriers that stand between some Hispanic residents in order to keep people informed during times of emergency. WUFT's Alexis Vivanco found one woman whose organization is making sure that is possible.
Her need to help came out of time of necessity to make sure that people have accurate and up-to-date information during the challenging times that often accompany disaster and destruction.
Speaking residents.
There's a lot of confusion, a lot of anxiety. There's definitely not enough verified information in Spanish for things that are relevant.
This language barrier is one that Alachua County is aware of and actively trying to change.
Alachua County is absolutely diligent about everything we posting being translated into Spanish. We have a full-time Spanish-speaking translator, and if you scroll down our pages, nearly everything on the page is posted in both Spanish and English.
Even with the efforts, some methods have been called into question and have left residents in the dark. That's why Coro Borjas has created a space to inform the community.
I just did it to bridge the gap between so many Hispanics that are cast aside due to language barriers, but also to help with the culture clash that they may not know when they arrive to the United States.
With Milton making landfall, officials in Alachua County have key warnings. And they hope that those who stick out the storm remain safe.
Take a look at the bottom of your screen to interact with Borjas and the Trabajando Juntos page. You can email them at trabajando.juntos.gnv or at gmail.com. Borjas hopes to serve as the midpoint between many Hispanic residents in the area and getting connected. Live in the studio, Alexis Vivanco, WFT News.
Hurricane Milton is still a strong Category 2 storm as it moves its way through the Florida Peninsula. I will have latest updates on the track and more coming up next.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Hurricane Milton is still a strong Category 2 storm as it's moving its way across the Florida Peninsula. Infrared satellite shows it takes up a lot of space. We expected this as it was going to expand upon landfall, as it was going to interact with the wind shear and the drier air that it's been seeing from a front that is north of us. Right now, latest track has it over Hardee County as a Category 2 storm with winds at 105 miles per hour, still moving east-northeast at around 16 miles per hour before it heads off into the Atlantic. It's expected to remain a hurricane Category 1 storm as it makes its way into the Atlantic by Thursday morning. By Friday morning and into this weekend, it's expected to just tail off into the Atlantic. Nothing more than a fish storm. Storm surge has been the main thing with Milton so far. Landfall was here in Siesta Key. Everything south of Siesta Key has seen life-threatening and life-altering storm surge. Siesta Key up to 13 feet of storm surge. Venice, we don't have the numbers from them yet, nor do Port Charlotte, but greater than 9 feet. We know that much. And that is because as it made landfall here in Siesta Key, I connected the track, counterclockwise wind flow around Hurricane Milton. You had an offshore wind north in Tampa, so they did not see as much storm surge as they were originally projected, but all that counterclockwise circulation pushed all the waves in the water into Venice, Siesta Key, Port Charlotte. It's very devastating down there right now. Life scary and life-altering storm. In our area though, in the Big Bend, Helene did have us higher in the 10 feet, but Milton does only have Cedar Key in 1 to 3 feet because the storm is south of us. However, there have been a lot of rain from this storm. Everything to the south of the center of the storm has seen the high winds and the high storm surge. Everything to the north has seen high winds and high rain. So draw a line through the middle. Half of it is a lot of dry air in this area. That's why you're not seeing a lot of rain. But everything north, you're seeing a lot of rain, torrential downpours, flash flooding warnings all across the peninsula of Florida, life-threatening storm surge through Sarasota and into Port Charlotte. For our area though, Ocala, Marion County is under a flash flood warning still. Gainesville seeing some outer rain bands still as it makes its way further north up through the I-4 corridor. We're going to start to see some more gusty winds, tropical storm force winds. Dry air that I was talking to you about really being brought up into this area. So most of that moisture is being contained to the north part of the storm. That's why the storm almost looks like it's been cut in half, because that dry air is interacting and interfering with Milton's lower half. Still strong winds though. That dry air did have the wind fields expand. as we were over the north of the Yucatan Peninsula just a few days ago. Very small wind field, but as it moved its way over Florida, getting some updates here, making its way over land, the wind field and the wind swath expanded all the way from the top of the state all the way down to the bottom of the state of tropical storm force winds. So we have all seen those tropical storm force wind gusts. Sustained winds here in Gainesville, 39 to 57 miles per hour here, 53 to 73 miles per hour down in Ocala in the Villages, strong tropical storm force winds. Further south though, they're seeing the hurricane force winds, and Tampa has seen over 100 mile per hour sustained winds. We've seen a lot of rain over the past 3 days, almost 3 inches in Gainesville, 4.5 in Ocala, and over 5 inches in the Villages. So that ground has been saturated for the past couple of days. And so any additional rainfall is just going to cause a runoff, and those trees are going to come down easily, even if it is low tropical storm force winds, because those roots are weak, those trees can fall. Updated on our power outage totals, 40,000 in Marion County, 1,500 up in Alachua County, 390,000 in Pinellas County. That is a large percentage of residents in Pinellas County that are without power right now, and those numbers are only going to tick up as we make our way, as Milton makes its way further along the I-4 corridor. Outside here in Gainesville, winds northeast 22 miles per hour still, wind gusts 36 miles per hour, just shy of tropical storm force winds. Those winds are going to ramp up as we head into midnight and a little bit beyond into early Thursday morning. Temperature 71. Oh, notice how we've gotten already 1.5 inches of rain. That number is also going to go up with Milton as it makes its way across the state. Heading into the weekend though, we do get a break and some sunshine. So if there's good news, it's that.
Coming up on WUFT's First at 5, more on how the University of Florida sports teams are dealing with the impact from Hurricane Milton. And our Spanish reporter tells us how the Latin community feels regarding the communication on hurricane updates.
Power outages are growing for parts of north central Florida. Here are the latest outage numbers. Ocala Electric is more than 9,400 customers are in the dark right now. Seco Energy, which serves Marion County outside of Ocala's city limits, is reporting more than 3,000 customers without power. And here in Gainesville, GRU is only reporting just over 800 customers without power. And more statewide, Duke Energy is reporting nearly 600,000 customers with power. Leaders say the outages are expected to worsen as Milton moves across the state overnight. As Hurricane Milton makes its way through Gainesville, many Florida Gator sports teams have been forced to postpone and cancel their respective outings this week.
That's right. WUFT's Jack Meyer has more on how the storm has shaken things up for UF athletics once more.
Less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene forced UF to completely rearrange its athletic schedules, the university is back on the clock and already working to reschedule this week's sporting events in response to Hurricane Milton. Starting out on the gridiron, the Florida Gators football team canceled head coach Billy Napier's weekly Wednesday night press conference in response to the closure of UF's campus. Nevertheless, Florida's road matchup with Tennessee this weekend is expected to go ahead as scheduled in Knoxville, with kickoff set for Saturday at 7 p.m. Meanwhile, Florida Swim and Dive's meet with Alabama that was previously scheduled for this Friday has been canceled. This marks the second consecutive meet that has been scratched for the Gators after their would have been season opener against Nova Southeastern was canceled due to Helene. Turning over to Gators volleyball, number 19 Florida's match with Mississippi State that was previously scheduled for tonight is now slated to take place on Friday at 7 p.m. And finally, Florida baseball canceled its practice that was previously scheduled for tomorrow, but the team will return to the Diamond on Friday. Gator soccer will remain relatively unaffected by the storm as they are currently in South Carolina for a road match with the Gamecocks tomorrow evening. In the studio, Jack Meyer, WUFT Sports.
He hablado con una residente de Gainesville que afirma que las barreras lingüísticas a la información sobre el huracán Milton son una de las mayores preocupaciones de la comunidad hispana.
Incertidumbre, mucha confusión respecto a qué es lo que tienen que hacer, cómo dónde ir, o sea, no mucha gente está muy nerviosa y sin saber qué hacer.
Coro está informando a la población hispana sobre la tormenta a través de su grupo mensajero en la aplicación WhatsApp nombrado Trabajando Juntos GNB. Para inscribirse en este grupo mensajero, póngase en contacto con Coro a través del correo electrónico trabajando.juntos.gnb@gmail.com. Residentes también pueden recibir alertas de emergencias en español inscribiéndose al número de teléfono 888-777 con la palabra Alachua ESP. Tendremos más información sobre la tormenta a través de nuestra página web Noticias WUFT. Reportando en el estudio, Nicole Beltrán, WUFT News.
Impacts from Milton will continue with rain and wind overnight. Tropical storm conditions are likely in our area with heavy rain and sustained winds that could be over 40 miles per hour. Hurricane-force winds will be possible, especially in Marion and Levy County. Milton will cross into the peninsula early Thursday morning.
That's right, Alex, and hopefully as soon as the hurricane does pass over, we can get recovery efforts started, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Before we go, let's get one last good look at the weather. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Yeah, like Alex said, because of its east-northeast movement, pretty fast at 16 miles per hour, we're going to start to feel those tropical storm force winds moving past Hardy County into Polk County right now before quickly jetting off, still as a hurricane into the Atlantic on Thursday morning, but we are going to start to see those tropical storm force winds, as we head into midnight and even beyond into the early morning Thursday hours. Storm surge south of where it made landfall in Siesta Key has been devastating. Storm surge up to 13 feet in Siesta Key and up to 9 feet over in Venice and Port Charlotte. Live radar shows the picture of what we're dealing with here in Marion County. Flash flood warning still active there. Gainesville seeing some light rain right now, but we can expect to see more rain as we head into tonight. Rainfall totals pretty much relatively high, 2.7 inches in Gainesville. As the further south you go, because it's making its way further into inland, 9.1 in Spring Hill. And the rain from the past 3 days has been a lot, so the ground is already saturated, runs off like a sponge, so those tree roots are easy to break down. So even though they're tropical storm force winds, they could knock trees over much easier. Power outage totals, these are going to continue to tick up as Milton moves its way across the state. 390,000 in Pinellas County, 110,000 in Pasco County, and it's going to start to look like that along the I-4 corridor. This could be one of the costliest storms in Florida's history just because of the densely populated area that it's going to be going through. Campus Cam here in Gainesville, northeast winds 22 miles per hour, so that's shy of tropical storm force winds, but we are only 3 miles per hour shy of tropical storm force wind gusts. Temperature 71 degrees. We've already had 1.56 inches of rain. That number is also going to continue to tick up. So flooding, local flooding could be possible in some other places. Infrared satellite of Milton for the most part as it moves its way across the state.
Well, thank you, Matthew, and thanks for joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and all of our social media platforms. Have a good night.